cold air over Ottawa, a trade trip in India, and fresh shockwaves from the Middle East. This Monday is moving on a few tracks at once. Later in the brief, we'll come back to the question hanging over Canada today: what support looks like when the U.S. and Israel strike Iran, and Ottawa says it won't take part militarily. Ottawa starts the day under clear skies and a deep freeze, sunny with a high near -7 degrees Celsius and a low around -24. And in hockey, Ottawa fans will take this one. The Senators beat the Maple Leafs 5-2 in Toronto, with Drake Batherson and Dylan Cousins scoring 2 each, plus a goal from Thomas Chabot. The game tilted hard in the second period, when Ottawa put up 4. Toronto's captain called it embarrassing, and the Leafs are now staring down pressure, with the trade deadline close and a playoff spot not guaranteed. At TD Place, a different kind of tight game. The Ottawa Charge lost 3-2 in a shootout to the league-leading Boston Fleet in their first game back from the Olympic break. It was a goaltending duel, 2 Olympic gold medal winners, decided by small margins, with Ottawa's coach pointing to a flat second period as the piece they'll want back. Turning now to the bigger stakes. Overnight and through the weekend, reports say U.S. and Israeli airstrikes hit targets in Iran, including an apparent strike near offices tied to Iran's supreme leader. In Tehran, multiple blasts were reported, and smoke was seen rising from the capital. Iran's leadership signaled a response was coming, with an address by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei expected, though it wasn't clear whether it would be live or recorded. Iran's foreign minister called the attacks a war of choice, and said Iran had been negotiating in good faith on its nuclear program. Here's the key point. Canada is trying to stand firmly with an ally's objective, disrupting Iran's nuclear program, without becoming a participant in the war itself. Prime Minister Mark Carney, speaking from a trade mission in India, said he supports U.S. action against Iran's nuclear program, but that Canada is not expected to take part militarily and wasn't part of the military buildup or planning. He also said he's been in touch with Donald Trump in recent weeks about Iran, though not yet on the day of the strikes. That not part of the planning line matters, because there's a parallel question. Even if Canada isn't involved as a country, were Canadians involved as individuals? Canada's Defense Department says Canadian Armed Forces members had no involvement in what it described as the U.S. operation, and none were involved in planning. But reporting has also pointed to Canadian exchange personnel embedded with U.S. commands in the region, positions that in many cases are close to planning and coordination functions. A retired Canadian Major General told CBC it would be highly likely exchange officers were involved at some level, unless they were explicitly barred. The risk here is that the political message, Canada is not participating, gets tested by the fine print of how allied militaries actually operate together. Human-scale impact as well. Flight disruptions across parts of the Middle East. Thousands of flights have been canceled, with major hubs affected as airlines reassess safety and airspace access. Now, zooming back to where Carney is right now, India. His trip is framed as a push to diversify trade, with Canada aiming to fast-track a comprehensive economic partnership agreement by the end of the year, and a longer-term goal of doubling two-way trade by 2030. The agenda spans energy exports, food security, artificial intelligence, and space cooperation, big-ticket sectors, long timelines. But the trip is also shadowed by a sensitive security file: allegations of Indian interference and intimidation in Canada. Senior Canadian officials are now signaling they believe Indian transnational repression has subsided, something Sikh activists, some MPs, and some law enforcement signals don't fully accept. Public Safety Minister Gary Anand Sangari has said there's still more work to do. One detail that underscores the mood: members of Canada's delegation used temporary burner devices and kept regular phones and laptops in signal-blocking bags after landing, precautionary steps that speak to ongoing concern, even as the official tone tries to move the relationship forward. A quick note from Ottawa to the rest of Canada on money. Economists are warning that provincial budgets are increasingly headed for deficits in the 2026-27 cycle, driven by a mix of weaker resource revenues, trade shocks, and higher spending pressures, especially healthcare, education, and infrastructure, amid population growth and an aging demographic. And in Parliament, the House of Commons has passed the Liberal government's budget implementation bill, after accepting several Conservative amendments at committee. particularly around a proposed power to grant temporary exemptions from federal laws, now tightened with requirements like public consultation and dual approvals. It heads next to the Senate, which has already been studying it. The final piece to watch today goes back to the Middle East story, because the next steps aren't just military. Watch for three things: whether Iran's leadership frames retaliation in ways that widen the conflict, whether air travel disruptions deepen into longer closures, and here at home, whether Ottawa is pressed to clarify the exact roles of Canadian exchange personnel embedded with U.S. commands. That's the brief for Monday, March 2nd. Stay warm out there in Ottawa. Sunny skies, but cold air. And we'll come back to the decisions and timelines that sharpen next.